Yeah. Hi guys, Jay Munoz here. In the next video, I'm going to give you 3 amazing tips on picking out the correct substructure for your development. Hi guys, Jay Munoz here, co-founder of Assets for Life. This is actually part 2 of an interview with my really good friend John Vieras. He's an amazing structural engineer that I met a while ago, and we're just going to basically give you the heads up of where we are in our project in Loughton, where we are building 14 flats and 2 commercial units. So basically what best to start the interview with is give you the heads up of the different types of foundations. So for this project, right at the beginning, in my view, it was simpler to do a rough reinforced concrete slab. So we didn't even have to do any piling because the ground bearing capacity was good. And if then, as a result, then we have less interaction with subcontractors. So that was my initial thoughts. But then after a series of iteration with a party wall surveyor, I actually had a party wall surveyor earlier, interviewing a party wall surveyor, we came to the conclusion that that was not the best option, because that meant that the party wall that we had at the back, the foundations were compromised. They were transferring the load into the foundations, that was not possible. So then we came to piling. So maybe John, if you just give us the heads up of the 2 different solutions, that would be good. And then the reason that we went for piling in the end as well.
Yeah, so a raft foundation, as you said, would literally just spread the load from the columns across the whole of the area.
Yeah.
Again, as you say, around the perimeter where we've got the party walls, the problem with the interaction, affecting the loading, and because we had columns close to the walls, our structure needed to cantilever beyond, and that was difficult with a raft foundation separating the 2. So by creating a system of piles, pile caps, ground beams, we were able to cantilever the structure beyond the supports, and the columns sit on those cantilevers, and it applies no load whatsoever to the party walls, the existing foundations. So that's the reason that we finally went for that scheme.
That's the reason that we finally went for that scheme, for sure. And the pros and cons of having one or the other, the reinforced concrete slab against piling with ground beams, what are the pros and cons for those?
With the raft foundation, the pros, much simpler detailing, just a straight reinforced concrete slab, equal thickness all the way across, albeit we have got a step in the slab because of the 2 different floor constructions. The disadvantage we've been through, it was purely the detail on this site. The piling, the advantage, as we said, gets away from the issue with the party walls, but it's a lot more complex. You've got a lot more reinforcement, a lot more complicated reinforcement, as you can see. So that was definitely the cons. Definitely the cons.
A
lot more time consuming.
100%. Think guys, we're developers. Time is money. So if we have to involve another party, i.e. a subcontractor, such as the piling contractor, that means we need to allocate time for it. We need to negotiate with them as well, so that adds time into it. And there might be late as well. There might be issues in the ground, obstructions that could cost you, obviously, that could cost you a budget. You might have a budget constraint, and might be expensive. So that's, in simple terms, ideally we aim for a wrap slab, but that was not possible. But then the second option was piling, which we did. Luckily we appointed, or luckily no, we know what we're doing, and we appointed a really good contractor that delivered all the piling. There's the piling here right now is all done, and now we are basically building our ground beams and finalizing all the groundworks. And we've been, we are on target and on budget as well. So that is basically, the reason sometimes that you make those decisions, isn't it? It's time against budget, and then you have to balance the 2. Or sometimes you're constrained, as in this case, like we had the party wall issue, but we have to go with that solution and make it work.
One other issue that was a minor, I think, in the end, was the amount of material that had to be taken off site.
That's right.
With the raft, it needed to be fairly thick. which meant excavating the whole site.
Correct.
By having the piles and the beams, you've got local deep excavations, and where there's the slab, it's spanning in between, you've got a relatively shallow depth of excavation. Whether the whole thing evened out or whether there was a benefit in the amount of excavation at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone's actually calculated that, whether there was a benefit or not.
I think it was obviously a balance between excavation and piling, but you know, because the nature of the site being very central and well located, you know, with lorry deliveries and all that stuff, I think it's probably the best. You know, we've got constraint with neighbours, obviously deliveries and stuff. So I think overall it is in our favour that we don't have to do as much excavation, and also we save on concrete, don't we? We don't have to bring lorries to bring the concrete in,
correct,
and that is obviously money. So it's about, I think in balance, I think if anything, the power foundation was a better solution for this project, which is great, and we are on program and on budget, so that's great. Good. So the second thing I wanted to share with the audience is basically the heave. So if you'd like to explain what heave means and how we are mitigating that risk on this project, that'll be great. And then you just show a little.
So the main soil underlying this site is London clay. Clays have varying plasticity index, and that will determine how much the clay will shrink or heave or swell, varying with the water content. Now, so what we needed to do, so with the raft foundation, you're really relying on the weight of everything. But if there was any swelling, it could be enough to lift the whole structure. But because it's a solid raft, you would hope it would all come up together. Because you've got here discrete beams and slabs that span between local piles, you've got to leave a void underneath to allow the clay to possibly swell if the water content in the soil increases for any reason. So to do that, you obviously need to pour the concrete, you need to pour it onto something. So you need to put a compressible material underneath the beams and the pile caps.
We actually have here a cross section of that, which is this, guys.
So you'll do your excavation.
Excavation up to here.
Put a blinding layer down. Place that on top. And then you fix all your reinforcement. Pour the concrete. If at any time the clay swells, it will push upward on this a certain amount, and you need to make sure the beams and the slabs have got the capability to take that upward pressure. When it gets to a certain point, this will all collapse, and no more pressure will be put upward on the structure. And if the clay shrinks back down again, it will leave a void. A void in here, but basically we'll have a void of about, I think it was 225.
225 millimeters in between. So to leave, so the soil can do this basically up and down, right? Depending on the water content. And that allows you to do that. That's very key.
Once it's all collapsed, you've got a void there so the clay can move up and down at will.
100%.
Because it is surprising how much, if you didn't have that there, it is surprising how much upward force. You could have an upward force of probably double or more of the actual load that you designed the slab for. So you'd have to design the slab for pushing upward twice the strength of the actual load you want to put on it. So that's the force that you can get from swelling clays.
That could cause cracks in your structure.
Or you have to over-design the slab.
Or over-design this slab. So the best solution is that John has come up with is basically installing this around the perimeter, the full area of the site, correct?
That's right,
So that's great.
As well as that, as I say, you do need a force to actually collapse that. You've then got to make sure that the piles have got enough reinforcement to take that, so they will go into tension. So you've got to put enough reinforcement into the pile, linked into the ground beams, so that they're strong enough to take that initial tension that could occur.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So that's it from us, guys. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the video, just click subscribe and hit the notification button if you'd like to get more of these videos, quite informative as we build the project. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. All the best and keep safe. All the best. Bye.